into today's topic at hand, and that is a spin-off of the video on the channel from this morning, which is a versus mode or a civil war mode, so to speak, in Marvel's Avengers. So basically, now there's a lot of talk. Just to kind of get to the quick, the meat of it. There's a lot of talk about whether or not can Avengers handle it. Could the engine handle it? Is a PvP mode possible? Is a competitive mode possible? And on top of that, on top of all of these various things, a versus mode is still to this day one of the most requested features in Avengers. Some of it probably has to do with, obviously, cooperative gameplay is fun, but it's fun when you have something to do. And there's a lot of the player base that feels like, on average, in terms of day to day, they don't have something to do. It is a grind. It's repetitive. They end up doing the same thing. So fighting against other players introduces a new concept. It's a little bit more thrilling. It's a little bit more exciting to fight against other players. You don't know what those other players are going to do. Again, it's the popularity of Halo. And again, Halo is what I know best. That's what I'll compare it to. I love Halo. I love the cooperative campaign. I love playing through that with friends. But I keep coming back to Halo because of the multiplayer, because of playing against other people, working with a team, working through objectives. I've always preferred objective gameplay. I like working through concepts like that. And it's the same way for me in World of Warcraft. I love raiding in World of Warcraft. But I do also love PvP in World of Warcraft. I love capture the flag. I love those kind of concepts. Again, there's something fun about testing your might, Mortal Kombat, against other players, which it goes all the way back to Mortal Kombat. It goes all the way back to the days in the arcade. Now, if you're too young, you may have never played in an arcade. I was young enough that I was managed for to be around at the end of an era of an arcade. When I was growing up, there used to be in Mesquite, Texas, there was a comic book shop called Lone Star Comics, and right next to that comic book shop was a little arcade, which is long gone now, both the comic shop and the arcade, which my dad took me to. So, again, it all goes back really to games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and that kind of competitive nature. Now, oh, hey, Ability. Ability says, I'd love a versus mode. I was thinking about it, too. I'd love to be an EXO going against another player playing as Hulk or something. And yeah, you could. There's multiple ways to go about it, which is heroes versus villains. Again, though, it's hard to say if they have much of villains mechanics. Heroes versus villains could work on a basic level of, just in terms of, oh, hey, here's the Hulk, but he's reskinned to look like Abomination. They could do that. And I know people might not like that, but that might be the only way you get heroes versus villains. Or otherwise, you get what we've often described on this channel as a Civil War mode. Hey, anyway, hello, Ability. Casual Avenger is asking, what's up, Greg? How are you doing? I'm doing very well, brother. Thank you for asking. Cad Bane asks, are you excited for DC Fandom? Absolutely. Absolutely. DC Fandom begins on Saturday at noon Central Time, and I will be covering all of the major events, including the big gameplay reveals for Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the panels for Black Adam, the Batman. I'll be covering all of that live on Saturday. Very, very excited DC means a lot to me. Let's put it that way. I don't want to. I know I could get super off, but DC means a lot to me. I'm a DC fan, so I'm very excited to follow through on Fandom. I had so much fun last year, and of course, very excited this year as well. But so what comes from all of this in terms of, obviously, there's heroes versus villains, which I'm sure people would love. The most likely one is a Civil War mode, heroes versus heroes. And I feel like this topic needs to be looked at just a little bit because, at the very least, to be frank, Crystal Dynamics is also looking at it. And the reason I say that is, and if you've played Marvel's Avengers recently, if you've played Marvel's Avengers in any type of in any kind of recent time frame. I don't know, like if there's a cutoff or whatever. You may have received a survey, and in that survey, you had several questions asking you about a PvP or competitive multiplayer mode in Marvel's Avengers. Crystal Dynamics is actively asking about this. Now, if you have that survey and you want to fill in the, you want to fill in the questions, and then there's also a little box for you to leave additional comments. Now, again, I took the survey and I was very thorough. I'm used to that though, just because of my, focus testing. So I was happy to take that survey and let my thoughts be heard. But I urge you, if you get an invitation to this survey, you should take it. You should take the survey and you should be very honest about it. If you want it, then be honest the fact that you want, some kind of heroes versus heroes mode. Tell them that you want it. They're not asking about this for no reason whatsoever. I mean, they don't drop this information out of nowhere. If you see a survey, if you see this kind of focus testing on a live player base, basically to send it out and go, hey, what do you think about this? That's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. Something's going on. No company just randomly does that. They don't pick a topic like competitive multiplayer and just randomly run that out there. That means something is being tested. That means something has been looked at internally. That is just what that means. Let's see. Marvel fan 2178 asks, hey, Greg, do you think DC will announce a Superman game at DC Fandom? I don't. I think it's too early. I think they're going to focus on what they have coming out, which is Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Gotham Knights. I don't think we're going to see Superman anytime soon for Fandom to really start running with that. Now, again, this is my perspective. This is always going to be my perspective on business. DC needs to focus on what they have coming out and what they can put release dates on. They need to focus squarely on that. And Superman is just too potentially far away to focus on. Ability says, oh yeah, Heroes vs. Heroes would be nice. Adam says, Sanders, did you see the Guardians game announced Adam Warlock? Oh yeah, I saw that. That wasn't coincidence. You know that brand, Synergy Mac. Deadly 8 says, hello, Greg. Hello. Shadow Drift says, after the whole consumable issue, I don't see the game living long enough. I understand what you mean, absolutely. I think it's, I think a discussion can be had on whether or not Avengers has that kind of future. That is another live debate topic that I have planned. I'm still sifting through. Of course, I have a number of emails and DMs asking about, are you talking about the consumables? Are you talking about this? Are you talking about the XP boost? To be fair, now there's two sides to this coin. One, I very strongly, when we have a video from when they announced the introduction of XP boosts in the game as, free. I have a video on that. And in that video, I literally say, you're going to end up paying for these. If you're okay, if you allow this to happen, you're going to end up paying for it. I stand by it. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was right, because now here it is. I think it's detrimental to the game. I do not agree with the decision, but I honestly believe that could be a whole live debate topic in and of itself. What it does for the longevity of the game, I don't know. I don't think it's a healthy move. It doesn't seem like the actions of a production that's in a healthy state. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Cat Bane says Batman sells more than Superman. Yeah, he does. It's hard to do a Superman game, right? I don't know if it's hard to do a Superman game. We've talked about this in our a little bit in our YouTube member pre-show. I've talked a little bit about what I've heard, but to put it simply, I think there's promise. I'll leave it at that. Marvel fan 2178 says, "Hey Greg, what do you know about the Matt Reeves Batman animated series?" Well, again, it's Matt Reeves, Bruce Timm, and J.J. Abrams. They're all coming back. It's not connected to any other Batman shows or any previous Batman continuity. It is all new. It is only Batman. There are no sidekicks, as far as I've been made aware of. There are no sidekicks whatsoever, and it's all going to be done in Bruce Timm's style. It's going to air on Cartoon Network and HBO Max. It is not going to be a comedy. It is going to be darker. It's going to be a more mature adaptation. In terms of how mature, again, look to Justice League, look to shows like that, look to that kind of more mature angle. It is going to be a very different show than I think what people are expecting. The reason I say than I think what people are expecting is, and again, this is anecdotal. I know this doesn't mean much, but I get a lot of questions about Caped Crusader, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, Cartoon Network only does comedy now." So if you're expecting this to be comedy, you're going in a very different direction. You're going in the wrong direction. It's not going to be a comedy. I'm very excited about all the people involved. Adam Stewart says, Sanders, have you ever played Red Dead Redemption 2? One of the best games I have ever played. I wonder if they will make more. Red Dead Redemption 2 was a massive success. I think it's inevitable that we get another game. 100%, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's inevitable we get another one, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is still making money hand over fist. Nicholas says, oh, yeah, I can confirm 100%. You will see Caped Crusader at DC Fandom on Saturday, and we will be covering it. I'm very, very excited. There's going to be a couple of surprises, too, but again, this might sound biased, and again, I know people will say whatever they want to, but there's a lot about DC that I'm really looking forward to on Saturday, and there's a couple of surprises I think people are going to freak out at. Deadly 8 says Ed Boon will attend DC Fandom. Yeah, that's true. Ed Boon is attending DC Fandom. He attended DC Fandom last year as well, just so that we're all on the same page. He did attend last year as well. God, I can't wait for Fandom. I really can't. I mean, I could, again... But yeah, you will. I'm trying to think. You'll get your first look at Batman. You'll get your first look at the new Superman cartoon. Marvel Fan 2178. Do you think the Last of Us live action series will be any good? Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the best. I think it's going to be one of the best shows. I think this is going to go down as high caliber television. I think what HBO has been putting out has been incredible. Their Watchmen series was incredible. I think and what I'm hearing about The Last of Us is all very, very positive. This is going to be a show that puts every other kind of post-apocalypse, Walking Dead-esque kind of show to absolute shame. The Last of Us is going to be really, really powerful and incredibly emotional. I cannot wait for it. Casual Avenger asked, do you see Wolverine coming to Marvel Avengers? No, I don't. For one, he's not in any data mines. He's not a part of anything. And for another, this is my opinion. This is just my opinion, and I don't mean anything rude by it. If you're a fan of Avengers, that's great. That's fine. But I feel very strongly that I don't think Marvel wants... I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I don't think they want to damage the X-Men brand that much. And I know that sounds terrible, but I think Marvel is really concerned about what Marvel's Avengers, the negative effects that could have on the gaming brand of the X-Men as X-Men games are being prepped for development because of big synergy. It's no different than at one point, and again, we have proof of this. I mean, you can chart the history through this channel, and we also had a former developer confirm to us that Guardians of the Galaxy was a very different game a few years ago, and it had a multiplayer component. At one point, Guardians of the Galaxy was set in the same universe as Marvel's Avengers. That's all been ripped out. That's all been removed. The co-op has been removed. The multiplayer has been removed. It is very, very different. My opinion on Last of Us is, again, I have multiple videos on it. I've never hidden it. I consider it, I thought it was Game of the Year. We actually did a full Game of the Year video series on this channel. Last of Us Part 2, I thought it was incredibly well done. I absolutely, absolutely loved it. It was... One, it took a lot of risks. Two, going in, I think we all knew, or at least I did. I mean, I knew Joel was going to die. I knew Joel was going to die from the first teaser. None of that surprised me. I 100% expected Joel to die, but they managed to still make it surprising, I guess is the best way that I can word it, especially without this getting into a whole thing. But I genuinely loved The Last of Us Part 2. I thought it was incredibly, incredibly well done, very high quality. I cannot wait to see what Naughty Dog continues to do. Cad Bane asks, who will you play as in Gotham Knights? Nightwing. Nightwing until such a point that I unlock Batman. Batman is my favorite. I do love Batman. So, you know, I'm not going to lie. I think Batman's inevitable. I feel like he's going to be revealed to be alive. So 100% Batman comes to the game. I absolutely will play as Nightwing, because if I'm not Batman, then my favorite character in the Gotham Knights family, so to speak, is Dick Grayson. I love Dick Grayson. I think he's a great character. Ability says, I just wonder how Ant-Man will play when he comes to Avengers. If he comes now, because again, it's a win if you know, I'm going to say it's a win if only because we're dealing with a game that we don't know its future. You know, we know unless they fast track another random character, we know what the next slate of characters that are launching in 2022 is. So it's hard to know when or if Ant-Man will come, because the game has to continue to survive, you know, and we already see characters that are far along. So I don't see them putting out more. I mean, and I don't mean anything rudely about this, but I do not see more than 4 characters coming next year. Crystal Dynamics just doesn't seem to know what they're doing. So if more than 4 characters come, great, that's awesome. But at the very least, we know the next slate of characters: She-Hulk, Winter Soldier, War Machine, and Captain Marvel. If we get all 4 of those next year, that's great. If we get them quarterly or whatever they end up doing, but I don't see more than that coming. I don't see more than that coming next year. And so then it's like, I don't know if we're going to get, I mean, like, Ant-Man could be 2023, you know, and maybe he coincides with the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Maybe the game continues to make money. Maybe Crystal Dynamics is able to turn this around. But it's a win or it's an if. I don't think it's definitively like, oh, hey, when Ant-Man is coming. Yeah, he's in the data mine. I've seen him. He's 100% there, and he hasn't been taken out. He's he's there. But that doesn't mean he will actually arrive, because the game has to keep getting the budget. Let's see. Mystical Green Beanie says Last of Us 2 was a solid game. Aside from outrage culture, I don't get why it gets so much hate. Yeah, I don't either. I agree with you. The outrage culture around Last of Us, around Marvel, around, again, Star Wars, the outrage culture around Batman, John Kent being bisexual, just the continuous outrage culture at anything that is remotely diverse or is remotely inviting or is remotely welcoming of any alternative kind of lifestyles is fascinating to me. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. But again, I'm just not of that mindset, and, you know, social media is a dangerous thing. They are just making it obvious now, says Cad Bane. I don't know what they're making obvious. I think I've missed something. If Gotham Knights did DLC characters, I'd love to see Huntress. So would I. Huntress and Batwoman make a lot of sense. Then they could do, they could potentially do Orphan. They could do Signal. They could do Bluebird. They could do Azazel. I mean, you know, there's a lot of characters that they could add to. They could do Batwing. There's a lot of characters they could add to. Let's see. Marvel fan asks, how customizable will the heroes' suits be in Gotham Knights? For the most part, you pretty much, like, there's, as far as I understood it, because they've been very vague, and I don't know if it's because they don't have if the system wasn't final at the time, but you'll choose a melee weapon, you'll choose a ranged weapon, and then you'll have your suit. And I don't know if you can mix and match suit pieces, but you'll choose your suit, and I think there are color options. Maybe there was a mistranslation or something was lost in it, but it's kind of all over the place in terms of the gossip going around this. But definitively, you have your suit, melee weapon, and ranged weapon. It's not a looter kind of game as far as anything that's been described by Montreal. Nicholas says, do you think there's a chance they just scrap everything and cut their losses once they drop Spider-Man? I think that's possible. I mean, I think, and I'm not saying it's definitive. I'm not saying that, but I think it is a possibility. You know, they're putting out Spider-Man because that's the agreement. They have to stick to the contract. But it's hard to say how much comes after Spider-Man. It is very hard to say how much comes after Spider-Man. Because it's on Game Pass, and maybe this will push it around. Maybe Game Pass, maybe it being on Game Pass and being on these other services, maybe that will push it. But people are getting to play it for free. But so these people who are getting to play it for free have to spend money in the game. So it's like, oh, hey, come spend consumables, come buy costumes. But you might not have that kind of interaction. Just because they're playing it for free doesn't mean they're going to spend money in the marketplace. So there's no guarantee you're going to have that kind of budget. Linkara says hello there. Hello. Deadly 8 says, have you heard anything about Lego Marvel Superheroes 3 or Lego Marvel game development? No, not at all. All their focus is on Lego Star Wars. The entire studio is working on Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. I haven't heard anything about anything else, and they keep delaying Skywalker Saga. It's been really rough last couple of years for game developers, Let's let them get the Skywalker Saga out. But no, I haven't heard any kind of gossip or rumors with any basis in foundation that I believe. Let's see. Mystical says, any word of Cassandra Cain going to be in Gotham Knights? Nah, there's no evidence right now unless she's DLC and they put her as Orphan or one of those, or one of her other identities. But in terms of the launch game, there hasn't been any current evidence. Cad Bane says, oh, I'm going New 52 Red Nightwing in Gotham Knights. That's fair. I always like the blue. And, that's probably a little bit of nostalgia, but I've always liked the blue. I'm really excited about Gotham Knights, though. I think it has potential to... one, I love drop-in, drop-out co-op. That's awesome. I think if you're going to do co-op, you have to have drop-in and drop-out co-op. I love that it's limited to 2 players because it's going to make Gotham feel even larger. I love the vehicles. The vehicle and the traversal in Gotham Knights is impeccable. It is impeccable. Shadowdrift says, will Young Justice Season 4 have a trailer at DC Fandom? Yeah, you're getting a trailer and a release date at DC Fandom. You will know. You'll know when you get it. Because they're announcing the premiere date and everything for Young Justice. Marvel fan, was the pay-to-win system for Avengers a death sentence? I think it may have been. Again, this is just an opinion, but if I look at it in marketing, right? If I look at it in that kind of perspective of marketing, this is bad marketing because they lost the message. Now, I only know a little bit, and I only know a little bit about how how gamers or consumers are responding to this just from people who have gotten in touch with me. So I got to be honest, I'm not entirely, I don't know for certain if it's crazier on Reddit or if it's crazier in the Discords for Marvel's Avengers. I don't know, but it looks really bad. People apparently have not responded well to this. Some people have gotten really aggressive about it. I've heard that they're threatening developers. I've heard all kinds of weird things going on out of this. Now, one, don't threaten developers. Because they don't get to make these decisions. They have to do what they're told. If they're told, put this in the game, they got to do it. Hey, work on costumes. Don't work on new characters. They have to do it. It's a job. This is a job, and it's not always a well-paying job. Let's be honest. The executives are making millions of dollars. The people actually working, they're not making millions of dollars. But yeah, it looks like they've completely lost control of the message, which is always bad. When you lose the marketing message to the audience, you can be really, you are effectively screwed. Let's just be honest. You're effectively screwed when you lose the message. Mystical says, I hope Disco Gold Nightwing is an option. I do too. Oh, I would love that. Miles says, are the rumors that say Marvel vs. Capcom 2 will come back? I think it's possible we could see it next year. I know that there's a lot of gossip. There are a lot of rumors about Marvel versus Capcom. There's no evidence, though, right? Like, I've heard a lot about it, and that's good. But it goes back to that old thing where it's like, okay, I keep hearing about it, but there's no actual evidence right now. There's no physical evidence. It's just really, I've heard that Marvel Games and Capcom have met. That's good. I've heard that Marvel has met with, other studios about bringing back older games. Some of it did not go well, apparently. I don't know if this goes anywhere, but I do know that the fan base is incredibly, overwhelmingly hungry for it. Nicholas says, was Young Justice Season 3 good? Oh, yeah. Loved it. My wife and I, we loved Season 3 of Young Justice. It was amazing. I don't want to spoil it, but it was amazing. Are there more characters coming to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? As far as I'm aware, yes. I don't know if they're launch characters, though. Havoc says, do you expect them to add a PvP mode in Avengers? I think it's a possibility now because of the survey and the questionnaire that Crystal Dynamics sent out, which is one of the reasons why I thought it was interesting to pay attention to and to actually make a topic out of. Crystal Dynamics was actively asking players, sending them out surveys and asking them about multiplayer modes, about competitive multiplayer modes. That does not happen by accident. That is not a coincidence. So they are at the very least looking into it, which again, they're trying to save a game that is dying, that has a shrinking player base. So they're looking at what will energize the player base. Well, you throw in a competitive mode, but we'll see. That's all there is to it. Marvel fan says, do you think we'll get a new Marvel game in 2022 besides Midnight Sun? When you say new, I don't know about new, but we might. I do expect a remaster or two. But again, I think 2022, like, just because of delays and because of the crisis that's gone on in the world, I just think 2022 is going to be pretty. It might be a little bare. Honestly, it might be a little bare. But I could see a couple of remasters toward the end of the year. And maybe an exclusive on the Switch. Nicholas says, do we know how similar the gameplay for Gotham Knights is to Suicide Squad? They're completely different. They are completely different. Gotham Knights plays like the Batman Arkham games. Suicide Squad plays like a shooter. They are completely different. They are nowhere near the same, and they're nowhere near the Avengers. And I actually have disagreed, Nicholas. I mean, I get what you're saying, because Nicholas says, I'm worried that these games won't be financially successful as people will feel they're too similar to Avengers and pass. Honestly, the average audience doesn't compare to things like that. The average audience has pretty much forgotten about Avengers. They've moved on from it, and they don't hold that kind of connection or that kind of relationship. They judge Batman on Batman. They judge DC on DC, but they're also so fundamentally different, which again, the audience will see when they start seeing more gameplay trailers. They are absolutely completely different. They don't look similar in any way. Gotham is massive. Gotham is massive to explore. There are vehicles to drive in. The traversal's better. It doesn't look or play in any kind of similar way. It is no way similar. And that's going to be to Gotham Knights' benefit. If someone tries to compare Gotham Knights to Avengers, they won't be able to, because it will not overlap. They don't play the same at all. And honestly, Gotham Knights plays better. Gotham Knights is more fun. Gotham Knights has better traversal. Havoc says, do you think Suicide Squad will have a gear system? I think it is very possible, yeah. Shadowjer says, if Crystal added a PvP mode, wouldn't they have to change most of the game to work with it? Not if they separated it. I mean, I don't think they really would have to change a whole lot, because they could basically make it a game type with, and the game type would have strict rules built into it that leveled out all the characters or that ignored gear options. It's not that outside of the realm of possibility if they wanted to work on it. It could work within the system that they had. Whether or not it's enjoyable and fun is a different conversation. But at the very least, Crystal Dynamics is actively considering it, because otherwise they wouldn't put it out there. They wouldn't start asking people in surveys. Marvel fan 2178 says, if Guardians of the Galaxy is a failure, do you think Marvel will back out of the deal with Square Enix? Oh, I think it's the other way. If Guardians of the Galaxy is a failure, Square Enix is going to back out. Now, again, everybody can have their opinion. If you love Marvel and whatever, that's fine. But this is not the fault of Square Enix. This is the fault of terrible mismanagement of the licensing by Marvel. Marvel's the one who says, oh, yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you can do that. You know what I mean? No, if Guardians is a financial failure, Square Enix is going to go, this isn't worth paying for. We're not paying for this license. You You sold us that these franchises would make money, and they are not making money under your direction, and Square Enix will get the hell out of there. Because Square Enix is a smart studio, and I'm sorry, I don't mean anything rude, but Square Enix is a better studio. Square Enix knows better than Marvel. I mean, that's just it. That's how I feel about it. Saucy says, really hyped for Gotham Knights, hoping for crossplay. Can't wait for the DC Fandom stream. I am also very hopeful for crossplay. Very, 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 very hopeful. I mean, come on. But, I mean, I'll be getting Gotham Knights on PC. So I do hope for crossplay, but I feel like it's going to have a bigger audience than Avengers anyway. Again, for one, it's Batman, and Batman lately can't do any wrong. I mean, I don't mean, he doesn't. It's Batman. I mean, look at it. They put out an R-rated Joker film, and it made $1 billion. Yeah, Batman can do no wrong. That's just it. But I do hope there's crossplay. Marvel fan says if they are a smart studio, why did they make the Avengers? What is it? Well, again, the way these kind of agreements work is Marvel went to Square Enix and said, we have a valuable IP. Look at the movies. Look at what we're doing all over multimedia. We want a game, we want to start making games. Other studios didn't bite. Other studios weren't interested. Activision had just abandoned the license, and EA had no interest either. Square Enix was interested in exploring the Marvel license. They always have been. Square Enix has a line of, they did figures. They've always had an interest in the Marvel license. So Square Enix said, okay, yeah, you know what? Let's do this. So they signed. There are different rumors on how long it is. Some said, I've heard, some people have said to me, it's a 5-year agreement. It's this, it's that. I won't get into that, though, right now. But ultimately, Square Enix said, okay, yeah, you've said it's a valuable IP. You said it can make money. Let's do this. So then they looked at their studios. Crystal Dynamics was given the Avengers. Eidos was given Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were supposed to work together, and it was supposed to start building out a gaming universe. Then the delays started hitting. Then Marvel, started saying, we need to do this with these characters. We need to do this. And it all started to fall apart. Guardians of the Galaxy was completely reimagined. Marvel's Avengers went through several significant changes. Both were going to be live service because, again, all you have to do is look at Marvel's output on mobile platforms. Look at what Marvel does on mobile phones. Look at what Marvel is doing in Midnight Suns. Marvel wants to monetize. Marvel and Disney want to monetize continuously. They want to continuously, over and over, monetize. That is not what Square Enix does. That is, all you have to do is look at the history of these companies. Look at what Marvel does with their properties. Look at what Square Enix does with their properties. Square Enix knows how to handle their IPs. Square Enix has a strong sense of business in terms of game development. They've been doing it for, over 30 years, for God's sake. So the problems arose with Marvel not having any kind of understanding on, in my opinion, good game development. Now again, and I say this with a little bit of bias because I don't support live service. I have no interest in live service games. I think they're detrimental to the industry. To each their own, of course. But once Avengers started looking bad because the focus testing was negative, there was a lot of bugs, then the beta didn't do well in terms of its bugs. Square Enix is very much so aware that this is not the golden goose we were promised. So if any company steps away, it's gonna be Square Enix stepping away. Shadowdrift says, do you know if there is a rough release date for Gotham Knights? I don't know if this is true, but I'll go on and comment on it. Now, I really don't. I want to stress this. I do not know if this is real because this stuff is easy to fake and make in Photoshop. But there is an image going around that has a Gotham Knights teaser poster that says Spring 2022. That's it, though. That's all I've seen in terms of, proof. I don't know, though. Because, anybody can make that, Mac. Anybody can. Like, you can get onto Photoshop and like you can put that stuff together. So, I mean, I would really stay. I mean, like, I would not trust that 100% because even I do not trust it 100% because anybody can do that. Deadly Ace says, if we get the X-Men game announcement alongside a separate co-op game at E3 next year, I will be very happy. Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know if there are multiple games. We don't know if they're one and the same games. We know that there's other games that Marvel's developing. I don't think any of them will be ready next year for release, but if they, getting announced is a different topic altogether. But that's why I say, I think if anything, next year we'll get remasters, I'm not kidding when I say like 2022 and 2023, in my opinion, belong to DC. I mean, and I get it. I know that Spider-Man's coming out and everything like that. I know Spider-Man 2 is coming out in 2023. I'm more excited for the X-Men and Wolverine. Again, if you follow this channel, you know how I feel about that. But I very, very strongly believe that the next couple of years are going to belong to DC, and Marvel's just going to have to accept that they're going to be losing for a couple of years. Marvel fan says, do you think Naughty Dog's next game will be a new IP? Naughty Dog is working on 2 separate games right now. At least one of them is a new IP. Naughty Dog has 2 teams. One of the teams is working on something established. The other team, as far as I'm aware, is working on a brand new IP, and I'm very excited to see what they do. Hararu, our YouTube member, hello! Ishmael says, I want the X-Men Mutant Academy series remaster. Those games are gems. Oh, I remember those. I would like, yeah. God. Yeah, that would be good. There's so many games I'd love to see remastered just for easy accessibility. Especially to get it on for current console users, and then also to just make it easier. Like, there's a lot of games that I can find on PC, and there's a lot of games that I can emulate and play, but I'd love it to be accessible and readily available on Steam. Hararu says, I had to take the SATs today. Oh, well, I wish you the best, absolutely, in terms of your success. And we're caught up. Good. Nostalgia at its finest. Man, I tell you, when I was working, like, the one thing that I learned, nostalgia is the most powerful marketing tool. I don't care what anyone says. I do not consider it a negative. I do not consider it a bad thing. As you can see, nostalgia is powerful. Whether it's toys, whether it's wanting new versions of old toys you had, like, again, this is the war. We've got the Titan's Return Fortress Maximus down here and the Earthrise Scorponok, but it's like, yeah, use nostalgia, use it. There's nothing wrong with nostalgia. Absolutely use it. Marvel fan says, how big do you think the map will be in Gotham Knights? Oh, I've never been given an actual, like, physical, like, size of it, but the Gotham Knights Gotham City is bigger than any of the previous Arkham maps, whether it's the Arkham Trilogy or Arkham Origins. It is the largest map that's ever been produced for a Batman game. It is massive. You can get lost in it. And when you're 2 players playing together, you can just roam around freely. I cannot wait to do this. I cannot wait. And then I'm going to have to do it all again when and if Batman gets unlocked, because I want to be Batman roaming around Gotham. Let's see. Hararu says, versus mode in Avengers. A year ago, I would have said no, but now I think it's one of the only things that could keep a player base. Yeah, see, I'm right there with you. Nicholas says, favorite comic runs. Oh, man. Okay. Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples on Saga is one of the best runs ever in comics. It will go down in history as one of the best runs ever in comics. Mike Mignola on Hellboy, that is everything he's done, even when, he wasn't the only person on that. But Mike Mignola's Hellboy Yeah, Saga comes back in January. I've already got my pre-orders in. I've already got my subscription. I'm ready to go. And then Mike Mignola on Hellboy, that is absolutely 100%. That is just definitive for me. Like that he stuck with that entire saga. I love his work on Hellboy. Simon Furman on Transformers, whether you want to go back to Simon Furman's work with Marvel's Transformers or with his Asians series at IDW that started in 2005. I mean, what Simon Furman did with Transformers, again, will go down in history. Like what he did for Transformers set the stage for what people continue to pull from when they're reimagining Transformers. Like he set the standard. Steve Ditko on Doctor Strange. Steve Ditko and Stan Lee on The Amazing Spider-Man. That's just it. Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's Batman. Oh my God, just one of the best Batman runs. Just absolutely one of the best Batman runs. I love the work Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo did on Batman. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, Paul Dini. Paul Dini's run on Batman Detective Comics. Loved that. That was, just classic. Jeff Loeb's trilogy of work. Batman The Long Halloween. Batman Dark Victory. Batman Hush, which he did with... Now, Batman Long Halloween and Dark Victory, Jeff Loeb did with Tim Sale. Hush, it was Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. But I love, those are just great, just instant runs. Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing. Alan Moore's Watchmen. Alan Moore's work on Star Wars, for God's sake. His Star Wars was just trippy. His older work on Star Wars in the UK was just absolutely... I love the story Alan Moore did for Star Wars. Anyway, I'm going to get lost on several tangents here. Miracle Man. Alan Moore, I love it. Let's see. What else? Oh, Jack Kirby, The Fourth World. Jack Kirby's entire Fourth World run of comics. Everything he did, from Superman pal Jimmy Olsen all the way, to Mr. Miracle, like everything Jack Kirby did with the Fourth World is impeccable. And again, out of respect for that as well, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's run on the Fantastic Four, that first volume of Fantastic Four that they did, that is iconic. That set a standard for Marvel Comics that is still followed to this day in terms of the Marvel method. Let me think. I could go... Todd McFarlane. Spawn. Come on now. You can... Todd McFarlane's run on Spawn. Incredible. Let's see. I feel like I know, like, whenever these topics get started, like I'm going to totally forget stuff. Dave Peterson. Dave Peterson's run on, which again, run is relative, but Dave Peterson's work on Mouse Guard. Amazing. He writes and he draws it, and it's absolutely amazing. Oh, yeah, Roger Stern's Amazing Spider-Man. Yes, Roger Stern's Amazing Spider-Man. Jerry Conway's run on Amazing Spider-Man. Again, Jerry Conway's is absolutely amazing, whether it's Jerry Conway's run on The Amazing Spider-Man, Jerry Conway's run on The Punisher, who Jerry Conway created The Punisher. Again, all incredible. Dennis O'Neill's run on Batman, for God's sake. Again, you could even say Frank Miller's run on Batman back in the 80s. Nothing of what he did in the 21st century, I'm sorry, but what Frank Miller did in the 80s with Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns are again, Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. That is absolutely iconic. Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley's run on Ultimate Spider-Man can never be forgotten. That is an iconic run of Spider-Man, even if it is Ultimate Spider-Man. Cad Bane says Batman has the best comics IMO. Batman has some of the best superhero comics. Now, best comics, I would have to disagree. My favorite comics are Hellboy and Saga. I love Marvel and DC, and I love DC way more, again, just wanting to be honest. But I think that there are amazing comic runs outside of those two companies. I could just keep going. Robert Kirkman's Invincible. That's amazing. Invincible is amazing. but yeah, I love those two companies. I enjoy Marvel's older work. I don't read any. I do not read Marvel now. I don't read any current Marvel. I have to be honest. I do not. I still do pick up DC. I pick up DC primarily though in trades and collections of what I want to read. I do not pick up DC monthly. The only comic that I pick up monthly is Saga, and of course, when Saga returns, I'll be picking that up monthly again. Let's see. Mystical says Frank Miller's Daredevil is also greatest of all time. It is. Like, his Daredevil run is, again, it set a standard for that character. Deadly A says, can you tell us or tease us what Marvel games could get remastered? I mean, a lot of that stuff is still in active negotiations. It's really hard to say right now. Mystical Green Beanie says Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four is also really cool. It is. I mean, it absolutely is. I mean, I'll give you that. Nicholas says, Ultimate Spider-Man is a real favorite of mine. Masterpiece of long-form comic storytelling, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on Morrison's Batman? I have a weird relationship with Grant Morrison. This is going to sound... I do not mean this to be rude. I like Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth. I do not like Damian Wayne. I'm sorry. I don't like Damian Wayne. But... Grant Morrison, it feels like to me, and this is going to be a little biased. I can't help it. This is going to be a little biased just because of the stories that I've heard that I've heard Alan Moore tell. Alan Moore has told several stories about Grant Morrison, and that has colored me a little bit. It has. I can't help it. It has colored me. I just want to be honest. But Grant Morrison comes off as very pretentious. And he comes off like an ass. I mean, he's just trying to rip off Alan Moore in what he does. You know, he's just trying to rip off Alan Moore. He's just trying to. I don't feel like he ever really had his own, in my opinion, his own identity. Because everything he did just felt like he was trying to build on the work, or at least the ideas and the concepts Alan Moore did. And I think Grant Morrison just ultimately came off creepy. But it is colored. It is absolutely colored. I can't help it. That's why, like, this is 100% biased. That's why I don't have a whole lot to say. I don't like the story decisions Grant Morrison ultimately made. I think I really don't. I did not care for Final Crisis. I did not care for him trying to be an auteur or whatever he considered his work to be. I just don't consider it of that caliber. He is not Alan Moore, and he shouldn't pretend to be, and he shouldn't try to be. Which, again, I know that probably sounds really asshole-ish, but I just don't care for him. Cad Bane says, have you read Darkest Night? Yeah, the Darkest Night event that Jeff Johns did. Absolutely. Jeff Johns, again, his reimaginings of Green Lantern kind of really put that on the map. I have a lot of respect for what Jeff Johns did for Green Lantern, what Jeff Johns did with Aquaman as well. No love for All-Star Superman then. I like All-Star Superman, don't get me wrong, but I think there are better Superman comics. Superman Rebirth is way better than All-Star Superman. The entire Superman Rebirth run is way better than anything Grant Morrison did. Patrick Gleason, I'm sorry, I can't remember the names of the people involved in the Superman Rebirth comic, but I just feel like that to me is better. Hiraru says, I think Grant Morrison identifies with they, them pronouns now. Oh, I don't know. I really don't follow Grant Morrison. I'll use the name. I don't follow Grant Morrison at all. I heard enough stories that I really do not support their work at all. So I don't know. I don't know what they have chosen to identify as. I have to be honest. And I just think that there are better adaptations of these characters. I feel very strongly that, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Alan Moore's work on Superman is better than Grant Morrison's work. Alan Moore's deconstruction of superheroes is better than Grant Morrison's attempted deconstruction. I just and Grant Morrison's kind of weird obsession with Alan Moore and his Grant Morrison's behavior, at least from the interviews that I was around for at the time, it all has kind of colored it. And so that's why I always say, like, there is an absolute bias built in from me. There is absolutely a bias, you know. I would just rather be honest about it. But yeah, however they identify, I honestly don't know, because Hiraru says, I think. I really don't know. Delier says the hype for DC fandom is through the roof for me. Yeah, I couldn't be more excited. The Black Adam leak really excited me. Even if I did get a strike, the Black Adam leak really excited me. Because I'm excited for Black Adam. I love that character. I'm very excited for the Justice Society. I loved seeing Hawkman. I loved it. I loved seeing Hawkman. He's one of my favorite DC characters. I cannot wait. And then the Batman Lego sets got me excited because I love the Batman. I think the Batman's going to be the best superhero movie next year. And then I'm very excited for those Lego sets because I do love my DC Legos. When do you think we'll get another team-up film from DC? Well, it depends on who do you want to team up, because we're getting a team-up film next year. Black Adam is giving us the Justice Society. What do you think of the new Hawkeye show? I'm really hoping they take a lot from Fraction and Aja's run. That's one of the reasons I'm really excited for the Hawkeye show. I love Matt Fraction and David Aja's run. Apologize if I'm not phonetically pronouncing that correctly. Names are not my best. But 100%, I hope they take a lot from it. I hope it has the kind of goofiness that the comic had. I hope it has the somberness that the comic had, and it's able to walk that line. I know it's not going to be able to do everything the comic did. It's not going to be able to have the jokes when he's naked and, when he's naked and the Hawkeye face goes over his junk. I know it's not going to be able to be that. I know it can't be that because it's Disney, but I really hope they take a lot of inspiration from that run. My biggest thing that I always go back to, and I do not mean this rudely in any way, I just don't know if Jeremy Renner can be that Hawkeye. And I'm excited to be proven wrong. I'm excited to see how Jeremy Renner handles and the performance that he gives. I don't know if he has that kind of charisma and if he has that kind of charm. And I'm very excited to see it. I'm very excited to see what Hawkeye is capable of doing and what Jeremy Renner is capable of doing with the role. Haley Steinfeld, I have no doubts about. Haley Steinfeld is going to be incredible. I love her. I adore her. She's awesome. Then, of course, I'm also very, very excited by the introduction of, no spoilers, but a couple of characters. I love Fraction's Hawkeye, but I hope we get the fingernail scene from Ultimates 2 to some capacity. That's interesting. Vastly different in terms of character runs. I hadn't thought about getting anything like that. Again, anything's possible because they can still pull from all over. For me, though, it really is like, if they can keep to Fraction's run and David's run, David and Matt's run, then I think we will have legitimately something special. The question then just becomes, can Jeremy Renner pull off that performance? Can he be that kind of charming Hawkeye? Because he's a fine actor, but I don't know if is he that kind of silliness? Is he that kind of somber? And I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what he can do because he's going to have 6 hours. You know what I mean? 6 episodes, 6 hours. He's going to have 6 hours. Basically a Hawkeye trilogy, if you will, to really give us something. So let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready for it. I've always loved Hawkeye, but I loved the comics Hawkeye. I never really had a relationship with the movie Hawkeye. He just never went anywhere. And then he did the whole Ronin stint, and I just didn't care for that because I'm like, well, you kind of sped through his entire history, didn't you? So I enjoy Marvel Studios, but they don't always make the right decisions, in my opinion, in terms of character adaptation. I've always been a little disappointed by how they handled Hawkeye. I've always been severely disappointed with how they handled the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I've always been disappointed with how they handled Spider-Man. So, to each their own. That's just me, though. Excuse me. I'll check that later. Casual. Oh, we have a new master. Casual Avengers has become a YouTube channel member. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much. I gotta get some more water. Casual Avenger, if you are in our Discord, let me know if you're in our Discord and if you have your accounts connected. So Discord doesn't always connect. There's a bug, but let me know so I can give you all the features in our Discord for YouTube members. And then just drop your name here in this chat. But yeah, it's going to be a busy, I mean, we got DC Fandom. Let me look at the calendar because I've got a lot of, hang on, because we're almost at the hour mark and I'm getting hungry. Okay, so this weekend is DC Fandom. Next weekend is the Hasbro PulseCon, which is going to be very big if you're a fan of Transformers and toys like Star Wars toys and things like that. Next weekend is going to be very, very big. And we're going to be covering that live as well. So this weekend is the 16th, and we're covering DC Fandom, and we're going to have videos, and I'm going to try to get, everything out as quickly as possible. Next weekend is Hasbro PulseCon. We'll be covering that to the same degree, and I will have content following that. There's going to be a few big announcements at PulseCon that I'm very, very excited about. Then, got a skip week. Right now, there's nothing on the 30th. And then we go into the Disney Plus Day. Is that? Hang on a minute. Disney Plus Day is not on my calendar. November 12th. November 12th is Disney Plus Day. Let me mark that right now. That is on a Friday. So Disney Plus Day is on a Friday. That's a one-day event where everything will be covered. So the week of the 30th, nothing, and then the week of Halloween, because Halloween is on a Sunday. That week, no big events, and then the 12th Friday of November. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting in terms of content. I've got my schedule covered. Nicholas says, is there a future for Transform movies? Yes, there are 3 movies in development right now. One is filming, and it's in principal photography, and that's Rise of the Beast, which, again, I'm excited for. To each their own, but I am excited for it. The second film is an animated film that will focus on completely Cybertron, and it is going to be set during the war for Cybertron. It is going to be a very high-quality animated film. No humans, no Earth whatsoever, just Transformers on Cybertron. And that is in active development. Then there is a third production going on right now. This is a live-action film, and it will exist concurrently with the Rise of the Beast. So it's not a sequel to Rise of the Beast. It's meant to be a separate spinoff that will focus on different characters. So you're going to have the main Transformer films that will follow Optimus Prime. Then you're going to have the animated films, hopefully plural. Hopefully they're successful and we get multiple animated films. And then we have the spin-off film that will focus on different groups so that the ensemble cast of Transformers can start to expand and get bigger. And that one is going to be more the other film in development, the other live-action film that's in development is going to be more international. It's going to be more internationally flavored. It's going to, so it's going to, they want to use different locations. They want to be more outside of America for those films. And then there is one other that is in so early development, it could be years away. But there then is another film. They are working on an Optimus Prime live action film in the spirit of Bumblebee. That is going to be an Optimus Prime film, and that is in very, very early development. They're talking with Peter Cullen right now about that film. So there is absolutely a lot going on in terms of Transformers. As a Transformers fan, I could not be more excited. I think Transformers has a large enough cast that it can go out to those places, that it can be that big. Nicholas says, so is Rise of the Beast still a continuation of the Michael Bay series? No, nothing that I've described is a part of Michael Bay continuity. None of it is a part of the Bayverse. It is not the Bayverse whatsoever. That's why I'm so excited. It is not the Bayverse. The Bayverse is over. And I know Paramount is trying to play nice. Paramount is trying to be like, oh no, we love acknowledging what Michael Bay did. Hasbro specifically, very clearly said this. Hasbro said that Transformers Rise of the Beast is a continuation of a new storytelling universe that began with Bumblebee. It is a complete reboot. Trust Hasbro. But it's over. Michael Bay's universe is over, and I'm ready for the bright future. Deadly A says, could the Transformers game be announced at Game Awards? I suppose it could be announced at Game Awards. I'm hoping it's announced sooner. That's just me, though. I'm hoping it's announced sooner. Like this month. That's just, that's me, though. Okay, so we're caught up. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. I gotta jump anyway. To my YouTube members, thank you all so much for your support, for making this content possible. I love all of you as well, and I want to welcome Casual Avenger and give him a shout out. Thank you so much for your support. To everyone, if you're interested in becoming a YouTube channel member, you can follow that link in the description below. It's only $2.99 a month, one single tier to support the channel, which again, it is a great help because YouTube is very fickle in terms of companies being very angry with my leaks and having videos taken down. So I do absolutely appreciate the support. To everyone, again, thank you for being a part of the conversation. I really do appreciate it. Please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel if you're new, sharing this content across social media. It all helps immensely with YouTube's analytics and algorithms. It helps gets the channel recommended and pushed out more. And over half of you are not subscribed. So again, it is free to do to show that button some love. Now, above all else and most importantly, stay safe. Take care of others, and have an absolutely wonderful day. I'll be dropping into the YouTube channel member lounge. And so again, if anybody, I'll be in the voice chat channel. If anybody wants to chill and talk, I'll be there for a little bit, and I'll be turning on some games if anybody wants to hang out. So with that out of the way, I'll see you all later. And DC Fandom this weekend, don't forget.